Hi, guys. Welcome back to Strong as You Think. Today, I want to talk to you about being addicted to negative feelings. I don't know if you knew that it was possible to be addicted to negative feelings, but you can. Um, Now, the reason this happens is a lot of us have heard of fight or flight, right? So, just to review a little bit, fight or flight is how our brains and bodies are wired to respond to stressful situations. This causes our bodies to release stress hormones, which mobilize enormous amounts of energy in response to a real or perceived threat. Okay. So we've got our brain and our body wired for a stressful situation. It releases stress hormones so that we're ready for a stressful or dangerous event, right? So we have all these hormones, going around, enabling us to act quickly, to be still if we need to, um, have more strength, have more energy. And typically, how it's designed is when that threat is gone, then our body kind of equalizes. Um, those hormone levels begin to go back to normal. And so that's kind of the way it's designed so that we can have those extra bursts of energy, um, where we can just react instead of thinking too much ahead of time for when those threats, dangers, or stressful situations happen. But in modern times, what happens is we can have something like a phone call, an email, or a conversation, um, something like that that elicits a strong emotional response. Like, we can be talking to someone. Um, we have a strong emotional response to what they've said, often negative, if it provokes a fight or flight. Even just scrolling social media sometimes elicits a response like that, right? So we have this strong emotional response, and our body brain doesn't really realize the difference. It sees it as a threat because our mind kind of is reacting to it with the same reaction as we would to a tiger chasing us, or a fire happening. So we've got this fight or flight response and this surge of adrenaline and hormones for something like an email or a conversation or social media or whatever it is. But the problem is, after this happens, we've got this fight or flight to things that first are happening probably a lot more often than maybe the physical threats in our distant um, evolutionary past. So first, it's happening a lot more often. But second, it's less clear to our body when the threat is gone, right? So we've got this reaction to what someone said, either in person or an email or text or on social media. And our body and brain react a certain way to it, and we get these surge of hormones, but we're really not sure. Like, there's not a hard end to that, right? We don't have this hard end to that experience. So our body doesn't know when it's time to equalize, right? So that fight and flight stays switched on. And instead of returning to balance, our bodies start to get used to this rush of chemicals, right? And this rush of chemicals, you get a reaction to it, and our bodies start to actually get addicted to this rush of chemicals that's going on. We may not even see it as desirable, but our body actually gets addicted to these chemicals that it's making itself, okay? So when we try to unconsciously predict and control these outcomes in order to increase our survival, so we think that doing certain things are going to increase our survival, like reacting that certain way to other people or to what they've said, we actually need that chemical response more. So we're addicted. We don't even know it. We don't even think we like the response, but we find ourselves chasing that chemical response, which doesn't make sense because we think we don't want that. We don't want that. We think it's not fun to feel that way. We look at the email and think, "Oh, I'm so upset. I don't want to be upset." But we actually find ourselves going back for more. Okay? So then we're addicted to Facebook and social media because we get this rush of chemicals when we see those things. We can get addicted to competition, whether it's in sports or coworkers. You even see that with like mean girl stuff, with kids, even adults. We can get addicted to the news because of anger. We can even get addicted to our relationship with money because of the lack we feel. That we actually could be addicted to feeling not enough. Okay. So it's really interesting when you see that you may think and you feel like, oh, I don't like the way this is feeling, but you see yourself continually going back to those feelings. And some of that is, I heard someone say, our brains want to be right more than they want to be happy. And I think if you look at your life, you'll see this is true. And I think that's partly because of this addiction that we can get to the chemicals that happen during our stress response or the fight and flight. So what do we do when we recognize this is going on? Well, first, like I say quite often, we want to recognize it's a natural response, okay? That our bodies and brains are made to do this. So we don't need to beat ourselves up about it. But it's a natural response. But second, we can stop that when we see this going on. First, we may stop it after we've had our big emotional response, right? We say, oh, I had those feelings, this happened, I didn't like it. That's when you stop there and you go back and you evaluate, like, okay, I caught it here. How can I catch it next time? And think about what it felt like, what was happening when you felt like that. Kind of look at the circumstances, get some good information from that. That might help you to catch it faster the next time. The next time you might catch it, in the middle of the feeling and think, oh, this is going on. I'm going to, I don't have to keep this up. I don't have to keep engaging with this feeling. And, kind of take some deep breaths, maybe feel the feeling. I talked about feel the feelings in episode 3 of my podcast, or it's on the video called Feeling Your Feelings. You can do that, work through feeling the feelings in your body, okay? And it kind of takes you out of the situation, kind of takes you out of your head and kind of eventually will calm. And as you catch it sooner, sometimes you catch yourself even, when you want to engage with a certain person, when you're trying to look at social media, when you're trying to read the news. And not that you can't do those things, but like you'll want to take a look at maybe why you're doing that. Are you feeling a need to go do those things? Maybe a little bit of a compulsion. And if you're doing it from that space, you might want to step back and think, Be curious with yourself and think about, why am I doing that? And as you catch it sooner, and as you learn to kind of take a moment with your feelings, you'll have more control over that situation. It'll have less and less power over you. So this is a really normal reaction. And when you realize this is going on and you can act out of awareness, then I think you'll be happier. You'll be less drawn to do all those things. But, just realize that it's natural to be drawn to it at first. But if you can kind of keep finding where you are in that process and stopping it earlier and earlier, more and more times, then you'll find that it has less control over you. So that's what I want to challenge you to do this week. I hope you'll join me again next time on Strong as You Think. Bye.